Okay, so the next clause is clause 14, fixtures and fittings. This clause just refers to all fixtures and fittings within the property must stay fixed to the property. You cannot afterwards go and take out things like maybe swimming pool pumps or air cons or burglar bars or whatever the case is. Should you want to go and remove those things, or even plants in the garden, trees in the garden, etc., whatever it is, if it's a fixture to the property, you may not remove it. Camera systems, all those things are fixed to the property. So if there is anything that you want to remove, again, that must please be specified on the mandatory property disclosure document. That document is not only to indicate defects, but it's there to also cover yourself and the seller with regards to anything that will be removed from the property. If the owner has a chandelier that's worth 100,000 Rand and they would like to remove that and replace it with another light, that must be communicated to the buyers to say, unfortunately, yes, this is a very beautiful chandelier, but it will not be sold with the property. They will replace it with a similar light fitting that will obviously be a little bit cheaper, but it will be replaced. Or some of the plants will be removed from the garden. I will go and show you. We marked those and it will be removed when the transaction registers at the deeds office or even before that. But they must know when they walk into the house, once they receive the keys, this item will be removed from the property and it will no longer be there once you move in. So please make sure that you do explain that to the buyers as well, and that you ask the sellers, is there anything that you would like to remove from this property? So that I can communicate that to the buyers, so that afterwards there's no disputes and threats from the buyers to sue the sellers for certain items being removed from the property. Then clause 15, electrical inspection. This whole clause 15, whether it's clause 15.2, Beetle certificates, electrical installation certificate, plumbing certificates, gas installations, electrical fencing, all of these certificates mentioned on page 13 and page 12 must be complied with. It's compulsory to make sure that you do get your COC certificate once the property is under offer. In certain instances, a Beetle certificate will also have to be obtained. So that's if it's applicable. So it means that if you are selling maybe a wooden house, it's a whole wooden structure. So then obviously a Beetle certificate must be obtained to ensure that there is no beetles or a beetle infestation on that specific property. If it's brick and mortar, obviously a Beetle certificate is not necessary. If we go further down, the plumbing certificate, so this is only applicable in certain areas, for instance, the Western Cape. You must make sure that you obtain a plumbing certificate. Then a gas installation certificate will also have to be obtained if you do have any gas installations in the house where there are gas bottles over 9 kgs. So if the bottle is larger than 9 kilograms, obviously then it must be outside of the house, fixed in a cage, and a gas installation certificate will have to be obtained as well. If there's any electric fencing on the property, then obviously an electrical fence certificate of compliance must also be obtained, and that must be issued by the sellers to the buyers as well. And a copy thereof must be provided to the buyers once the property is registered in their name. Clause 16, cooling off period. This clause is only applicable if the property is below the value of 250,000 Rand. So 250,000 Rand and lower or less, then the purchaser's attention is drawn to the rights conferred upon him by the virtue of section 29 of the Alienation of Land Act, number 68 of 1981. So for a house or a flat, I don't think that you would get any property valued at 250,000 Rand or less, maybe still a piece of vacant land. So if that is the case, then there is a cooling off period where the seller, within a 5-day period, could still make use of this clause, where they can then cancel the agreement within a 5-day period. So then they have a cooling off period of 5 days after signing this OTP agreement. Then if you have a look at clause 17 with general terms, from 17.1 up until 17.15, so make sure that you go through these clauses as well and understand it. 17.1, the terms, the parties undertake to do all such things as may be necessary for the implementation of the terms, the conditions, and important of this agreement within 5 working days after being requested to do so, unless otherwise contained in this agreement. So it means that if the parties is requested to do something by the conveyancers, or even the mortgage originator, the bond originator, they must please do so within 5 working days after being requested to do so. Again, it's to make sure that the transaction moves as fast as possible and that we don't wait for a lot of documents to be sent. Then 17.2, this agreement constitutes the sole and entire agreement between the parties, and no warranties, representations, guarantees, or other terms and conditions of whatsoever nature shall be of any force or effect unless contained herein. So this clause means that this is the entire agreement. Should we have to change something in this agreement with regards to a specific paragraph, then it must be reduced to in writing, and then all parties to this agreement must then agree to that specific amendment before it can come into force or be enforceable. So then 17.3, again, no variation of the terms and conditions of this agreement or the subclause of any consensual cancellation thereof shall be of any force or effect unless reduced in writing and signed by all the parties. Then 17.4, the parties warrant that Parkland Real Estate was the effective cause of this sale being concluded. 17.5, in the event of there being more than one purchaser, their liability shall be joint and several. It just means that each purchaser will be held liable solely, but also jointly. Then 17.6, it is recorded that by the signature of this document, the purchasers constitutes an irrevocable offer to purchase the property mentioned in this agreement on the terms and conditions as stipulated herein, and once accepted by the seller, who is hereby irrevocably granted until, say, 12 o'clock on a specific date, to accept or reject the offer. So this clause means that if the purchaser now agrees to purchase this specific property, then their offer is irrevocably granted until a specific date. So it means that they cannot withdraw their offer until a specific date and time. So usually it depends on the situation. If the seller is immediately available, I still make the date at least 5 working days or 7 days from the date that the buyers signed the OTP agreement. Or if I know these people are usually out of town, they travel a lot, they are not always readily available, then make it 14 days. 14 days from the date of signature by the buyers. So if, say, this was now the 1st of October on a specific year, then give the seller at least until either the 14th or the 15th of October to accept the OTP agreement. It just gives you a little bit of time for the seller to accept the agreement. Otherwise, the buyers can go and buy another property even before the seller has now accepted and signed this specific document. So make sure that you give enough time there for acceptance. 17.7, if we go down to page 15, the parties hereto agree that the agent may display a salt board on the boundary of the property for a period of 3 months from its acceptance of this offer. So once the offer is accepted, You can go and put up your salt board. That's a very good marketing tactic as well in your area. If people drive past and they see there's about 10 salt boards of this specific agency and agent in the area, it means that that agent knows what he's doing or what she's doing, and they would most likely contact you to go and sell their house as well.